In this case study, I'm going to share with you how I helped a new client of mine unlock a new mindset around their retirement. First, let's go ahead and look at their situation, and then we're going to talk about the problems they thought they had. We're going to identify actually that was not the problem. They had different problems instead. So here we can see that we've got David and Angela. David is currently 58, Angela is 57, and let's take a look at their assets, where everything is currently held and how much money they have. So their overall net worth is around 2.1 million. And here to the left, you can see that David has a traditional IRA that's worth 760,000. That's from an old rollover from an old and previous job. His current 401k has around $235,000 in it, and David's Roth IRA has 55,000. They have a joint bank account with about $50,000. They have a joint taxable account they've recently started saving in with $165,000. Their primary home is worth $700,000. They live in Texas, and so it has appreciated greatly over the last few years. They have a mortgage they are about to pay off here in the next 2 years that has about $75,000 left on it. And then Angela, she has a traditional IRA with $135,000 and her current 401k with $85,000. So that's their asset makeup. That's where things are held. Now let's talk about their goals. David and Angela want to retire in about 5 to 6 years. So that puts them at around 65 for David's age, and then Angela, it would be 64. So that's their target retirement ages, and they're wanting to spend around $5,000 a month in retirement. So that includes everything from housing expense, which will not be there outside of normal maintenance or property taxes, but they just want to be able to have enough money to spend and live they want to live. We're also going to talk about how they want to go travel. So you can see here that they have a $20,000 annual travel budget, and that is set to begin in their first year of retirement. So whenever David is 65, and it's set to end whenever he turns 75. So a 10-year stretch of spending $20,000 a year on travel, which is one of their important goals. And then also we have some healthcare costs that are built in for Angela whenever she is not yet to Medicare age. Obviously, David would be Medicare age whenever he retires at 65. So Angela has 1 year to make up there on private insurance. David right now is making $150,000 per year. Angela is making $95,000. Their Social Security expectations for full retirement age, their benefits at that point, David would have about $3,300 at his full retirement age of 67. And Angela will have about $2,800 at her full retirement age. So that's their income. They don't have any pensions or anything else like that. So that's what their primary, fixed income will be in retirement. Now, how much are they saving on an annual basis? One of the things that David mentioned was that he is saving as much as he possibly can for retirement. One of his biggest fears, which we'll talk more about in a second, is the fact that he does not want to run out of money and doesn't really know how much he needs to retire successfully. So they're saving as much as they can. David is maxing out his 401k at $30,500, being over 50. He can save that additional amount. Angela is putting 10% of her paycheck into her 401k, and on top of that, they're getting matches for each. We'll look at those in a second. But they're also contributing around $30,000 to their joint investment account every year, and they still have money left over from a spending standpoint because they're not spending that much money every month. They're living very frugally because remember, their biggest concern is running out of money. Therefore, they're trying to save as much as they possibly can for retirement. So that's their savings amounts. Let's see how much they spend on a monthly basis. Right now, they're spending around $4,500 a month. That's in addition to their $1,750 a month mortgage. So somewhere in the ballpark of around $6,000 to $6,500 a month is what they're truly spending. But to make sure we're not overlapping there, I want to make sure we have $4,500 in addition to their mortgage. So that's their situation. Now, what are the questions or the concerns that they've had? Number one, they've said, Jacob, we've tried to live as frugally as possible. We've kind of denied ourselves a little bit of having fun or going on trips. We do have one daughter. She is now out of the house. So we don't have as many things on our payroll, if you will. We're not spending as much money, and we're trying to save as much as possible. One of the things they did say is we have great jobs. We really enjoy what we're doing. It's not like we want to retire today because we have great jobs. We have flexible schedules. We can take off kind of when we want to, but we don't feel like we can from a financial standpoint because we're worried about how much we may or may not need in retirement. We haven't really done that analysis yet. So we've just been saving as much as we possibly can, trying to build up those accounts as much as we can. So that's really the biggest question. But what we're going to find out here in a second is that that might not be their biggest issue. Instead, it might be something else. So let's take a look at their retirement picture and let's see how they fare and what it will look like for them as they enter their retirement years here in about 5 or 6 years. Okay. And so right away, we can see that David and Angela are going to have far more than they ever need to retire. They're going to have and die with north of $4 million based on just a base case scenario whenever they are spending only $5,000 a month or $4,500 a month in retirement. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to walk through what I helped them realize and kind of uncover the fact that they did not need to save as much as they were saving. In fact, they had more than enough already saved to meet their expense needs in retirement, and whatever they were saving now is actually just an additional amount on top of that. So what we're going to do is we're going to walk through how much they can cut back on their savings and actually also increase their spending both before retirement, but then also after retirement. So let's dive into that together. So right now we can see that this is their base scenario, and here's kind of what they're saving. David, remember, is saving $30,500. That's 2024 numbers into his 401k. Angela's saving 10%. David's 401k, just so you know, gets a 4% dollar for dollar match. Angela's gets a 3% dollar for dollar match. So they're also getting matching contributions on top of their savings as well. And they're saving $30,000 for that joint investment account. So right now they're spending $4,500 a month on top of the $1,750 for their mortgage. Remember, the mortgage, though, actually goes away in 2 years. So that's going to be gone before they retire, in a few years before they retire. So then they have additional cash or extra leftover income every month they're going to have to figure out what they want to do with. So what can we do? Well, number one, I could say, hey, David, what if we cut back on our saving to the 401k and we just made that, call it $10,000. Let's see how much that hurts us over the next 5 to 6 years. It only brings us down by about $300,000. So that's the difference there from a saving standpoint, but then also future growth standpoint. We're losing about $300,000 by not saving the maximum to his 401k over the rest of their lives. That's how much we're losing. Now let's take this to another level and say, well, what if we lower Angela's 401k contributions all the way down to the match, which was 3%, remember? Let's keep pulling that down. And now we can see that they're still at 100%, yet they still have plenty of money left over. So we've got room to spend money. We've got room to save less. So let's keep going down this kind of trail of saving less and see what happens here. So they're saving $30,000 for their joint investment account. But what happens if they save only 10? That's per year. We can see that they drop below $4 million whenever they pass away. Again, they've got far too much money whenever they pass away at 85 for David and 90 for Angela. So again, we're seeing that they've got some room to play with here, and they don't actually need to save as much as they're saving. So as we continue down this kind of progression of saving less money and perhaps spending more before we got to retirement, they began to see that this unlocks a new mindset for them. They began to see that, hey, we can actually spend and enjoy while we have the time, the ability, and the financial wherewithal to do so, and not jeopardize our retirement in the future. So what happens if they started spending more in the working years rather than delaying their spending into the future? So we're going to increase their spending to $7,000 a month. And we see that they're going to continue to be okay. Now, whenever we think about their retirement spending, let's look at how much more they could probably spend in retirement and still never run into issues. So right now they're planning on spending $5,000 a month in retirement. Remember, their mortgage will be paid off. And we also have that $20,000 per year expense for travel. So what if we move that to $7,000 per month rather than $5,000 in retirement? So originally we started with them on our base plan, dying at 85 or 90 with just under $5 million to their name, which again, that was not their primary goal. They want to enjoy life and spend their money when they can. So by doing a few things, we've lowered that percentage of probability of success down to 95%, which again, I'm very comfortable with. But then also we can see here that they still have a potential to die with a lot of money left over. So we've increased their monthly expenses in retirement from $5,000 to $7,000. I think there's probably some still room there for them to spend more if they'd like to. We've lowered their spending right now from $30,500, which is the max for David, down to $10,000 a year to his 401k. Angela's 401k contributions have gone down from 10% to 3% just so she gets that match. In the joint investment account, we've cut down from $30,000 per year to $10,000 a year of savings. So with that, we've lowered all of these things in terms of what they're saving right now, and we're increasing their spending. Now, what I did want to do here as well is I wanted to say, what happens if we, instead of saying we're going to take $10,000 a month and spend that in retirement, starting at 65 for David, what if we started that now? So what if we said David's age, actually, let's just do calendar year 2024, and it ends at 75. So from now till David turns 75, let's go back again, and that's going to change our our case here on the right just a little bit, but that also affects our proposed options as well. So what we're now doing is we're now seeing that they're going to have plenty of money every single month. They're going to have more than enough to spend, and they're going to get to spend a lot more because they get to start spending this $20,000 right here every single year, and it's going to increase slightly. So instead of starting that right here in 2031, they get to actually start it today because of these changes that we're kind of unlocking for them. So what this does here is now we've got still an extra $30,000 or close to it every year left over, and that is being spent based on how the system is calculating that. So they've got extra money to spend. Now, it could be saved or it could be spent depending on what they want to do or how much they do or don't want to travel that year. So for them, what we're showing is we figured out that they did not need to be saving as much as they otherwise thought they had to be. They didn't have to be fearful about running out of money in retirement. Instead, what they needed to be fearful about was not living and enjoying their money when they had the opportunity to do so, right? They don't have many dependents counting on them. They have one daughter who they'd like to leave something to, but it's not their top priority to leave millions of dollars to her. So they wanted to make sure that they could enjoy life. They've lived frugally to this point, and they've kind of denied themselves of enjoying the things that they value or the things that they enjoy. So for them, what does that look like? For them, they mentioned, hey, we want to go on a 6-week vacation across Europe, travel and see all the different places and do that. We also want to go on a cruise for 3 months. We want to go travel all around the world and do these different things. We want to travel stateside. We want to go visit different places in the US we have not yet visited. And for them, I think they can start that now while they're still working, yet they can continue it in retirement in those early years and never run out of money. In fact, I think that whenever we see this, they're probably still going to have a tax issue because they have so much in those tax deferred accounts. Now, whenever we started talking about this and we said, hey, what's your opportunities here? Well, the opportunities are to number one, save less and then also spend more, but also something you got to think about and consider in terms of a risk down the road is going to be taxes on all these tax deferred accounts. So for them, that was another thing that said, hey, Jacob, we'd love to work with you because number one, you uncovered something for us, but then also you identified another risk down the road that we've got to pay attention to. So hopefully this quick case study helped you identify maybe that saving just a bunch of money every month without a goal or a purpose behind it is not necessarily optimal. Yes, we want to make sure we're saving the proper amounts, but I find that a lot of people are actually saving more than they need to be, and they're denying themselves of the opportunity to go and live life while they can. So if that's the situation you find yourself in, I hope that you find this encouraging to know that you can go spend more money than you actually are right now. If you have questions about this case study, or perhaps you want to see a different type of case study, leave a comment down below. And then also, if you found the video helpful, please give it a thumbs up and share it with a friend. Thanks so much. We will see you next time.